What's going on, boys? My name is Nox and welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the Unholy Death Knight. This is going to be a quick beginner's guide that covers entry-level raiding in Mythic Plus. This guide is intended for players new to the spec or those who have taken an extended break from Death Knight. Unholy is a pet-focused melee damage spec with strong burst and AoE damage. The main goal of the spec is to generate and burst as many festering wounds on the target as possible while maintaining a high uptime on our multiple cooldowns. Runes are our main resource. You can have a maximum of 6 and can regen up to 3 at a time. Runes are spent by many of our abilities, but most often Festering Strike and Scourge Strike. Spending runes or bursting festering wounds generates runic power, which can be spent on Death Coil for single target damage or Epidemic for AoE. Spending runic power can proc runic corruption, which causes runes to regen faster. The main mechanic behind Unholy is the wound mechanic. Festering runes are generated by Festering Strike, and they are and Infected Claws if talented, and they are burst by Scourge Strike or Apocalypse. When they burst, they do extra shadow damage and generate runic power. Generally, you want to press one Festering Strike, then burst all wounds on the target with Scourge Strikes. The only time this changes is 5 to 10 seconds before Apocalypse comes off of cooldown. Then we want to hit Festering Strike twice in a row to make sure we have at least 4 wounds on the target before pressing Apocalypse. The Covenant choice for Unholy DK is very close, so pick your favorite. However, if you were going for the best one, I think Necrolord is best. Most DKs are going Necrolord right now, followed by Venthyr, Nightfey, and Kyrian. The best soulbinds are Bonesmith if you're Necrolord, Nadia if you're Venthyr, Naya if you're Nightfey, or Pelagos if you're Kyrian. The best conduit is Eternal Hunger in all situations, followed by Convocation of the Dead for the reduced cooldown on Apocalypse. It is worth noting that the general Covenant ability soulbinds are also good. Your stat priority for Unholy is weapon damage first and foremost, so make sure to get that high item level weapon, strength, mastery, haste, crit, then versatility. The best rune forge is Fallen Crusader always for the increased strength. The best talents for raid are listed above. We have All Will Serve, Unholy Blight, Asphyxiate, or Death's Reach, whichever is more useful for the raid encounter, Soul Reaper, Spell Eater, Unholy Pact, and Army of the Damned. The best legendary for raid is Deadliest Coil. However, Frenzied Monstrosity is very close. For the opener, we have Army of the Dead once we're in melee. We Festering Strike twice to generate runes. We Unholy Blight and Potion. We use Dark Transformation, then Apocalypse, Trinket, and our Racial, and then we A-Bombs Limb, and then continue with the single target priority. The single target priority is use your cooldowns, Soul Reaper at 35% and below, don't cap runes, and don't cap runic power. Again, generally you want to press one Festering Strike, then burst all wounds on the target with Scourge Strikes. The only time this changes is 5 to 10 seconds before Apocalypse comes off of cooldown. Our best Mythic Plus talents are listed above. This is the more single target focus build. We have Infected Claws, Unholy Blight, Asphyxiate or Grip of the Dead, Pestilent Pustules, Spell Eater, Unholy Pact, and Army of the Damned. The wound build, which is listed now, is Infected Claws, Bursting Sores, Asphyxiate or Grip of the Dead, Pestilent Pustules, Unholy Pact, and Unholy Assault. It's worth noting that Unholy Assault and Apocalypse have the same cooldown and should be paired together always. The best legendary for Mythic Plus is Frenzied Monstrosity, followed by Deadliest Coil. Your AoE priority is use your cooldowns, don't cap runes, don't cap runic power, this time spending runic power on Epidemic, and use Death and Decay on CD. Some general Mythic Plus tips are spread your wounds before Death and Decay. So I'm just going to show you guys here. So let's pretend that this is a Mythic Plus pack. I'm running in, tank's already pulled. I want to use a Festering Strike on 2 targets before I drop Death and Decay. Now, when I press my 1 key, Scourge Strike bursted wounds on both of those targets. If I press it again, it bursts this wound over here as well, even though I'm not targeting it. When Death and Decay is down, Scourge Strike hits not all targets, it hits up to 5 targets in the area. You want to be spending your runic power on Epidemic in pretty much all situations. In AoE, there's a slight min-maxing you can do with Deadliest Coil, so 2 and 3 target cleave, you still want to be using Death Coil so you can get the extension on your Dark Transformation. You also want to be using your cooldowns as often as possible in Mythic Plus. This is super important. Make sure you're getting tons of uses out of Army of the Dead. Make sure you're getting tons of uses out of Apocalypse, tons of uses out of Unholy Assault if you're talented into it. And then some rating tips. Soul Reaper is your #1 priority below 35% health. It deals so much damage in comparison to everything else. It only costs 1 rune. Make sure you have a rune saved and a GCD saved, ready to go for when Soul Reaper comes off of cooldown. You also want to pair up Unholy Blight and Dark Transformation always. Always, always. You want them going off at the same time, so you press Unholy Blight. Your next global cooldown should be Dark Transformation. And then finally, use Army of the Dead during Bloodlust. Army of the Dead is our strongest cooldown. It's one of the strongest DPS cooldowns in the game. We want to make sure that we're using it optimally. On longer fights, we'll get 2, especially if we're using Army of the Damned. On shorter fights, we might only get 1. So pay attention to, if your guild's doing stuff, or even when you're in a pug, ask when they're going to Bloodlust. If they're going to Bloodlust on pull, you Army on the pull. If they're going to Bloodlust a few seconds into the fight, hold Army of the Dead until you get that Bloodlust. And then another general tip is I have a macro for Apocalypse. This is very similar to the macro that I have for my Affliction Warlock. So just coming here, it's Show Tooltip Apocalypse. You cast Apocalypse, you use 13, use 14, which are your trinket slots, and cast your Racial, which for me as an orc is Blood Fury. And then some credits. Big shout out goes to the Acaris Discord. They do so much DK theory crafting. It's how I learned how to play Death Knight. They have tons more information than this guide will ever have. This is, again, just very surface level, barely tip of the iceberg beginner stuff. If you want more details, check them out. The link to that is in the description below. And Biceps Pump, he streams and makes a ton of DK content, a lot more advanced guides, some longer stuff. Check his stuff out. Link to his channel is in the description below. And finally, just a quick announcement, I now have a Patreon. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel, it's there. Link to that is in the description below. I also stream every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday on Twitch at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Link to that is in the description below. And if this video was helpful to you, go ahead and click like and comment down below. If I did it wrong, let me know, and hopefully I can correct some mistakes. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in the next one.